South Africa's newly installed Women's Minister Bathabile Dlamini is leading South Africa's delegation to this year's session of the Commission on the Status of Women, of course formerly of Social Development, but also currently the President of the African National Congress's Women's League. Minister, welcome back to New York. It's wonderful to see you.
Thank you.
The focus of this year's Commission on the Status of Women is ensuring that rural women are not left behind. To what extent is that a concern that faces the South African government in terms of the context that urban women are certainly progressing, but the concern being that rural women are not progressing quite as fast?
I think it's a huge concern. But also, I think we must understand that we are trying to put the issues of women living in rural areas and girls or on the table for discussion. And also, we are trying to ensure that at all times when we do our work, more particularly in the rural areas, we must ensure that women and girls are part of that work. Because if you look into a rural girl, you will see a woman who walk long distances to school, who faces dangers of being raped or killed on her way to school, but also who comes back home tired, do a household chores, and at the same time is expected to study, do the washing for the brothers, and does not get time to integrate with the whole community. And therefore, she is shy to speak in meetings where there are men and boys. But also in terms of ownership of the land, in terms of ownership of proceeds at home, she doesn't get a thing.
Globally, I think the number is 13% of women actually own the land on which they toil. 13%. That figure is astronomically low.
And actually, in our country, women, 58% of our women who stay in the rural areas are the ones who work the land for a number of reasons.
To feed the countries.
To feed the children, and that replaces the work that should be done by government, which means that women are working very hard almost every day, but that is not counted in the GDP. Even in the urban areas, the same happens. Women work very hard. They volunteer a lot, and most of the time, no one respects the work they are doing.
Do you feel, though, that, Minister, being in the cabinet, that this is a priority for South Africa's government? You know, we talk here a lot in terms of the SDGs, in terms of what we want for Goal 5, in terms of women's empowerment, that it's not happening fast enough. Now, it's one thing talking about things and making nice speeches, but are we implementing the targets?
What I've seen during the handover by Minister Susan is that there is a lot of work that is done by that ministry. And what we need to try and do as South African women, all women, and also work with gender-sensitive men, is to face the overarching challenge, which is patriarchy.